Hi scientists, it's Lisa from the Wenatchee River Institute. Today it's all about birds. What birds look like, their shapes and sizes, their beaks, and we have a special challenge for you at the end of the video. So what is a bird? An animal can be considered a bird if it meets 5 key characteristics. It has to have wings, it has to have feathers, a beak, it must lay eggs, and it has to have a skeleton. And just because a bird has feathers and wings, it doesn't mean that it can fly. Can you think of a bird that has feathers, wings, lays eggs, and has a beak but cannot fly?
Hey there, Katie here from the Wenatchee River Institute. Just going on a little stroll in Leavenworth today on my way to Blackbird Island. Today we're talking about birds, specifically bird identification. I'm sure all of you have seen a bird once in your life, but have you noticed how many different shapes and sizes they come in? From tiny little hummingbirds to great big eagles and hawks, birds come in an astonishing variety of shapes and sizes. Today we're going to explore that a little bit to help us identify birds that we can see in our own neighborhoods.
All right, I've hopped on the computer to do some research to see what shapes and sizes birds can come in. Let's get started. Wow, that's a lot of birds. And would you look at all of these different shapes? Do you recognize some of these silhouettes? I see wrens, nuthatches, finches, herons. This is one key that you could use to identify birds that focuses on shape. Let's take a look at a key that focuses on size. And here it is. You can see that as we go from left to right, our bird size gets larger, with this one on the far left being our smallest bird, and this one on the right being our largest bird. Now, this scale does not represent the entire variety of sizes that birds can come in. Some birds may be smaller or larger than the ones on our scale, but it's a nice starting point to start thinking about bird size. Let's take a look at each of these individually. The first one on our list is going to be about the size of a golf ball or maybe a tangerine. What would be another object around that size? We can see some birds here taking a bath. That yellow one happens to be a goldfinch, and the white and black ones are black-capped chickadees. Have you seen them outside before? Maybe you've heard them. Black-capped chickadees sound like they're saying cheeseburger in the springtime. Second from the left, we have birds that are about the size of a fist. This includes this robin who we see perched on this branch here. Have you noticed them pulling worms out of the ground? Second to last, we have a bird that is about the size of a small loaf of bread. Our example of this size is the crow. Have you heard them cawing loudly outside? Crows are remarkable. They can fly up to 30 miles per hour. And finally, the last bird and the largest bird on our scale will be about the size of a cat. These are some Canadian geese grazing on a lawn. Sometimes you can see a large flock of Canadian geese flying in a V formation overhead. Size and shape are great characteristics to think about as we begin identifying birds outside.
Birds have excellent vision, and they see colors very well, even better than humans. Colors are important to birds for many reasons. Colors can even help birds know when it's time to migrate. The changing colors on the leaves in the fall can be a sign for birds to start thinking about flying south for the winter. Colors help birds to find food also. They look for brightly colored fruits and flowers because those bright colors are a sign of ripeness and nutrition. Male birds are more colorful than female birds in most species. Brightly colored feathers are a sign of good health and maturity, and they indicate the potential for a bird to be a suitable mate. Some types of birds grow new colorful feathers just for breeding season. and then return to more camouflage color for the rest of the year. When it comes to feathers, there are generally 4 types. There are wing feathers, which are strong, sleek, and windproof. These feathers are asymmetrical. They are on the bird's wings to catch the wind and allow them to fly. There's tail feathers, which are also strong and sleek and windproof. These feathers are symmetrical. They allow the bird to steer while in flight. Then there are contour feathers, which are smaller and patterned. They cover the body of the bird like shingles. Then there are down feathers. These are small and fluffy. They're close to the body. They're insulating feathers, which means they trap heat and keep the bird warm.
Hey, it's Naomi from the Wenatchee River Institute. Have you ever wondered why there's such a variety in the shape of bird beaks? The function of a bird's beak is to obtain food, and it's shaped according to what a bird eats. Different species of birds can look very different, but if they eat the same food, they share a similar sized beak. For example, birds that eat seeds, like cardinals and chickadees, have sturdy triangular shaped beaks. This allows them to powerfully crack open the protective outer shell of seeds. Whereas nectar eaters, like hummingbirds, don't have such strong beaks. Instead, they have long, fine beaks that allow them to reach deep inside a flower where the nectar is hidden. Hummingbird beaks can be short or long, straight or curved. Each beak is specifically shaped to fit into a specific type of flower. You can learn a lot about a bird's behavior by looking at its beak and thinking about what that bird might eat. You can then think about where that bird might live, and so on. We took some time to interview our birding friend, Rachel, to ask her what her favorite bird is and how she got started birding.
Hey everybody, it's Rachel from WRI, and I love birding. My favorite bird to look for outside are hummingbirds. And hummingbirds are the coolest birds on earth, I think. They're the tiniest birds on earth. They are like the jewels of the sky as they fly around because they have these beautiful bright feathers on their throats. They can fly backwards, they can fly to the left or to the right, and they can also hover and fly in one spot, unlike many other birds. Hummingbirds also use spider webs in their nests, and their eggs are the size of jelly beans, super, super small.
We asked Rachel, how did you become a birder?
Well, I've always thought of myself as somebody who's interested in nature and loves being outside. But before moving to Leavenworth, I lived on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington. And I met a guy named Al. And he would take me on morning bird walks. And he was always so passionate about the birds and knew so much about the birds. And it made me want to become a better birder.
So how do you become a birder?
So if you're interested in becoming a birder, or just watching birds or attracting birds into your yard or near your home, there are some pretty simple things you can do. As you can see behind me, I have some different bird feeders set up. So I have sunflower seeds, and I have a suet feeder for birds like woodpeckers and nuthatches and chickadees. Also, bringing water into your yard is a great way to attract birds because birds like to bathe in the summertime, and they also are thirsty, just like we are. And another thing, there's not a lot of equipment when it comes to birding. All you need is a pair of binoculars, and there's lots of different types of binoculars depending on what you want. And you can see birds anywhere. You can see birds in a parking lot. You can see birds in trees. You can see birds in the grass. Literally anywhere you go outside, you'll see birds. So, happy birding!
You don't have to be a great artist or know every single bird in Wenatchee or Leavenworth. You just have to get started. So, I'm going to challenge you to draw a bird without looking at your paper. This is called the blind contour drawing, and it's a great first step for birders. And so, the rules are that when you spot this bird, you only have 30 seconds to draw the bird. That is because usually when a bird lands in a certain spot, maybe a fence or a branch, it only stays there for about 30 seconds. So that's our timeline. And you cannot look down at your paper. You want to make sure that you keep an eye on where that bird is. So here we go, 30 seconds. All of us at the Wenatchee River Institute invite you to participate in the Stay-at-Home Bird Watching Challenge. For the BirdFest Stay-at-Home Birding Challenge, I am going to use my journal that's already split up into the 4 days, a pen, I have my snack and water, and I'm going to be using these 2 guides as well as an app on my phone to identify the birds that I see. And it has to be birds that I see, because I can hear a lot of birds right now, but I can only write them down in my journal if I see the bird. Going out bird watching can give you the opportunity to view amazing wildlife, like a bald eagle. Some of the best bird sightings happen when you least expect it, like this osprey carrying a large stick to its nest.